Welcome into CHGO Tavern Style. I'm Sean Anderson of CHGO White Sox.
I'm Joey Spathis of CHGO Bulls.
Your Tavern Style debut.
It's my Tavern Style debut. I've done a couple behind the computer, behind the camera, but first time on this side, yeah.
At Joey Spathis, make him Joey 1.2K?
1.3K. Well, I mean, you make me 1.4K.
1.4K. There you go.
That's a goal.
Mean, we get enough people, you're probably just Joey 1 mil.
One day.
Yeah, one day. Today's show, we're going to be talking about what is the most annoying Bears take so far after 2 games. Joey, what has been the thing that bugs you the most, whether it be from national people or Bears fans themselves, about this team so far?
My most annoying take, and I might get some flack for this, but I think the most annoying take I've seen are people victory lapping that the Bears should have kept Justin Fields. And I love Justin Fields. I wish him all the best in Pittsburgh. I think he's actually, gotten off to a really good start. Had a big throw taken off the board, negated by a penalty last week. They're 2-0. But I think the reason that bothers me is just because, and I think you'd agree, it's entirely too early to make any judgments about really the Bears offense as a whole, but especially Caleb Williams. Just 2 starts. I think we need to see 6 starts before we even really start to make those first couple real takeaways. And obviously, let the kid get a season under his belt. And so that's the take that I take a little bit of, exception to.
Well, and it's nonsense too. Maybe Justin would be able to scramble a little bit more. Maybe he'd be able to make a little bit more happen with his feet.
Sure.
But A, we know he's a worse passer than
Right.
Caleb Williams. And B, the Texans got 36 pressures on 47 dropbacks for Caleb Williams.
Correct.
That's going to be the same exact numbers for Justin Fields,
if not worse. And let me jump in again. I'll give you my other most annoying take.
Yeah.
Before and I'm sorry, I'm
over.
a novice here.
No.
So I don't want to
Make your own show.
hijack the conversation here.
You're the
That
Arch
Matt
Manning of this company.
Eberflus should be fired or should be back on the hot seat. And I understand the frustration, but
You don't think that?
no, I don't think that because I understand the frustration after you start 1-1 and the offense looks this bad. But you got to look at Matt Eberflus's specialty inside of the ball. This defense has been really good. I mean, they started a little bit shaky. Both games actually in the first half, a little bit shaky. I think it's more understandable versus a Texans team that has a really dynamic offense with some top caliber playmakers. But they really rebounded nicely, let up 3 points in the second half. Defense has kept them in the game, and you should win a lot of games that you are holding the opponent to under 19 points. So do I want Eberflus? Am I going to judge him more based on wins and losses at the end of the day? Yes, but ultimately, you got to give him some credit for how the defense has played so far.
I hear that, but I held some issues with keeping Eberflus before this season.
Sure.
And after these first 2 games, I'm not in love that he's stuck around. I do feel like Caleb is an airplane and you're having a car mechanic work on it. I understand that he's done a decent job of putting the rookie in a position to win because they won the first game and it's 19-13 and they're close. But I think the biggest thing about Eberflus is there's no change personnel-wise offensively, at least on the offensive line. And I understand he has to deal with what's given to him by Ryan Poles, but after what you just saw against the Texans, and I understand it's going to be an easier opponent against the Colts, I feel like something needs to change. I feel like you have to be a little bit more active in trying to find solutions rather than just plug and play. And hopefully he's been able to find the right coaches to improve the offensive line from week to week, but I don't have a ton of faith in them. I didn't have a ton of faith in them before the season, after last season. So I don't love Flus, and if people are calling for Flus's job, that doesn't bother me. I'm fine for even calling for Shane Waldron's job because I don't love what I've seen so far from him. So I'm fine with firing people because, it's all about taking care of Caleb.
Yeah, on the Flus note, I think that's totally fair, and I agree, by the way. If it was me in the offseason, if I had my druthers, I probably would have let Flus go to pair Caleb with a more offensive-minded head coach. That's my philosophy as a fan. Obviously, what do I know? But that probably is what I thought would have been best. But what I'm saying, I guess, is now that the decision has been made, and I agree, and I could see why Ryan Poles and the McCaskey family made that decision, and I don't think that these first 2 games should change that outlook because I think the defense has played well. I agree. It's really discouraging on the offensive side of the ball, and it's really discouraging seeing the offensive line. I think a lot of that's on Shane Waldron. I think a lot of that's on Ryan Poles for the personnel he put on the field. But for Waldron, I'm very curious to see how he is going to adapt the game plan. Is he going to be able to adjust his scheme and his outside zone and, getting the ball out quickly to the players that he has on this team? Clearly, a lot of what he's been doing in the first 2 weeks has not worked, and he definitely had a role in the personnel that they brought in as well. So it's definitely a lot on him to figure out that side of the ball.
Yeah, Gerald Everett is getting way too many targets because of he's Shane Waldron's guy.
Too many tight end screens. I think that they've got a lot of other playmakers that I would rather see the ball in those guys' hands than Everett or even Komet in certain situations, or Velus Jones. A lot of Travis Homer snaps in these first couple weeks, which is fine. Use your personnel, but it is interesting. After the offseason, we talked all about these different weapons they've got, all the different pass catchers, and we're talking a lot about DeAndre Carter and Velus Jones and Gerald Everett.
Well, and part of that, too, is Keenan being banged up, and then I know Rome was a little banged up and played hurt on Sunday, but still, hey, you look at his dad's Twitter, you'd see he's wide open in the end zone.
He's wide open. Dan Orlovsky.
I think the biggest thing, too, that sticks out, just listening to our guys, Corey Wooten, Alex Brown, Lance Briggs on the postgame show, a lot of gun runs from Waldron. Like, this has nothing to do with the quarterback, in my opinion. And if you're critiquing the quarterback after 2 games, I think that's fairly foolish. I think there's issues with maybe his build, and maybe he is a little bit short and has to get used to adjusting to a very tall, big NFL line. But outside of that, there's nothing that I'm really worried about with Caleb.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Caleb actually looked a lot better on Sunday night than he had in week 1, and I expect him to continue to improve. And also, these are 2 formidable defensive fronts that they have faced in the first 2 weeks. The Titans' interior is really strong. Tavondre Sweat, that's my guy from Texas. He's great start, and Jeffrey Simmons has been wrecking games for years. And the Texans obviously went out, spent a ton of money on the edge position. They invested in that early in the draft a couple years ago with Will Anderson. They've got a couple really good players in that secondary, and those are 2 good defenses. So the Bears, though, in the next 3 weeks face, as it stands today, the 3 worst rushing defenses in the league. So that's at Indianapolis and then at home versus the Rams and the Panthers. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm going to wait to make my judgments. If you had made your judgments after week 4 of last year, I think you'd be feeling a lot differently by week 17. And I'm hopeful that they could turn it around and start getting some positive momentum and really just, go from there. And
as you said, one side of the ball looks all right. So hopefully the other side picks it up. I do like DeAndre Swift over 50 rushing yards this week. So go bet on that prop.
I like it.
That's going to do it for CHGO Tavern Style. That's Joey Styles. Joey Spathis making his debut. I was thinking of AJ Styles for some reason.
Cool.
I'm Sean Anderson of CHGO White Sox. We'll see you later on CHGO Tavern Style.
We all silly like the mayor.